Hello, Libra. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today with your monthly May 2023 monthly horoscope. These horoscopes are based on whole sign Western astrology. So when I am talking about a house, it's based on Libra rising. If you don't know your rising sign, you can go to any one of the free birth calculators on the internet. Just plug in your exact time of birth and location, and you'll be able to determine that information. These videos are also based on the Pacific time zone. So if you are not in the Pacific time zone, please adjust for your location on the planet. Okay, so May is a big month, as if all the months we've been talking about haven't been big months, but we have Pluto retrograding, we have Jupiter moving into Taurus, we have another eclipse, the second in this season, and it's also an eclipse that is on the Taurus Scorpio axis, which is very powerful because it's going to bring back themes from the fall of 2022 when we had an eclipse season focused on the Taurus Scorpio axis. So here I'm going to jump in, starting with Pluto going retrograde May 1st. Pluto entered Aquarius in March of 2023, and it's remained at the 0 degree of Aquarius. This is in your 5th house of romance, of pleasure, of fun, of entertainment, of the conception of children. It's a house of personal expression. Now we layer the idea that it's Aquarius. So this is going to reference a real uniqueness, a raw genius. Oftentimes the focus is on the collective, on uplifting humanity. Aquarius by nature is the house that rules our hopes and our dreams. So this very much may start to indicate a period of time when you are reflecting on how you are allowing yourself to implement the things of your heart, the things of your own personal expression and your own creativity. When Pluto in June 11th, Pluto will move into Capricorn, retrograde back into Capricorn. This is going to be your 4th house. And it's going to go to the 27th degree before it moves forward again in October. There will be a 127-day retrograde. And I believe that this is really going to be a period of time when Libra has an opportunity to implement and I want to say it this way, when I say implement, I actually don't think I'm taking physical action. I think I'm more strategizing. I'm looking at the things that I want to create in reference to my responsibilities at home, or the influences of my childhood. With Capricorn being the 4th house, you may have experienced a lot of strict energy, a lot of rule following within the family. And then as you get into your 5th house, it may have thwarted some of your efforts at one point, because Aquarius is so forward thinking and so innovative. There may have been a little bit of conflict. And I say this because Pluto is the great rebirthing planet, where one thing dies so that something else can live. And I don't think it's necessarily negative. The caterpillar goes through a very dramatic process as it decomposes from the caterpillar into the butterfly. And I think this is what's happening for Libra. I think that there is a real opportunity to start to see how, as you start to think about things of your heart, if you want to birth something on the internet, if you want to birth your own, Etsy shop, or if you want to start doing anything creative, anything innovative, anything that makes you feel fresh and as if you're contributing. There's a very big feeling of wanting to contribute to the betterment of humanity in the Aquarian energy. This is a time to contemplate this. This is a time to start to carve out space for that in your life, so that as we move into 2024, you can really start to implement that into your life. And one of the things I think about Libra is that it's such a cooperative sign. It's such a sign of partnership that oftentimes I feel like Libra defers to the partnership versus their individuality. And oftentimes their individual expression actually contributes to the partnership in a more healthy manner. So this will be a very powerful influence, especially, I think, as it goes back into Capricorn in your fourth house. And this will be, you know, again, this is a 127-day retrograde. So we're looking at about 4 months, a little over 4 months. So it's about balancing the influences of your childhood. And if they are still, if they're holding you back, it's an opportunity to determine if that energy is still applicable or it's just a habitual way of thinking. And now this is an opportunity to shift that. On the 5th of May, we have our lunar eclipse. That's a full moon lunar eclipse at 14 degrees Scorpio. This eclipse is the second eclipse ruled by Mars. We had in April 19th, we had our Aries solar eclipse, which was a new moon at 29 degrees Aries. And that Mars rules Aries. And now Mars is the co-ruler of Scorpio. We just talked about Pluto, which rules Scorpio. So a few days before this eclipse, as Pluto is moving retrograde in your house of self-expression, it's giving you an opportunity really to have an illumination about something, to be able to look at it and see it for what it has to offer you. And sometimes a challenging situation can be very powerful in encouraging us to move forward. My dog is doing something over there. I don't know what it is. Apologize. I want to say this too. We had because we had 2 new moons in Aries, we have flipped the script on the lunar cycle. I was listening to Molly McCord the other day, and she brought this up, and I thought it was very powerful because we usually have a new moon and then a full moon. And for the next few months, I believe we're going to have a full moon that precedes a new moon. And here we see this starting with this eclipse. Now, Scorpio rules a very deep psychology. It is the psychological imprint of my ability to co-create. What do I believe about that? Now, Scorpio is your second house, which again rules my sense of value, my self-worth. It rules my family history by nature. It's normally the Taurus energy. It rules my voice, my perception of whether or not I'm heard when I speak, whether or not I'm valued when I give my opinion. The second house by nature rules my skills. It rules chefs and craftsmen and woodworkers and needle pointers, you know, anything you would do with your hands. And I bring this up because as it being Scorpio, this gives you an opportunity, especially since Scorpio is ruled by Pluto and Pluto's now retrograding into your 4th house, to really look deeply at if the imprint of your childhood or how you have perceived your childhood is still applicable. Because if it hasn't, this is an opportunity to start to integrate the new energies, and Pluto will liberate you and offer you a rebirth as it traverses its homeland territory for you, meaning your homeland, and then it moves back forward into your house of creativity and your house of self-expression. At the same time, we have this lunar eclipse. The sun and the moon are in an opposition. So the moon is at 14 degrees Scorpio. The sun is at 14 degrees Scorpio. The sun, is at 14 degrees Taurus. The sun is making a conjunction to Uranus. Uranus is the co-ruler of your 5th house. There is a lot going on here for Libra in the way of identifying what's important to you, what you want to birth for you, and what you birth for you, you bring back into the partnerships in your life, into the relationships in your life. And it brings more balance and more joy as you allow for this expression. We also have Venus that naturally rules you, okay? It is the ruling planet for you. She is currently in Gemini on the day of the eclipse at 27 degrees. The 27th degree is the Gemini degree. So this is really a lot about how you process information, how you think about things, how you listen, how you filter things. Because what I'm seeing here as Venus is in Gemini, which is in your 9th house, it gives you an opportunity to rewrite the beliefs of yourself, to rewrite what you think about your skills, to renovate every story that you've ever told yourself where you don't get to move your story forward. I feel very much as if these bits of individual expression that bring us joy and make us feel accomplished are actually bringing a healthier energy into the connections and relationships we have with other people. So I think this is very powerful because Venus in Gemini is squaring Neptune in Pisces. Neptune is at 26 degrees in Pisces. Now, by nature, Venus and Neptune get along very well. But here, I think there's a conversation going on where Venus is ready to move the story forward, to incorporate new beliefs about herself, and Neptune might feel a little bit unsure and foggy, and that's why there's a tense conversation. For me, a square is always an energy where I have an old instinctual pattern, way of being, way of believing, way of acting, and I default to this way. Now there's a new conception of who I want to be and what I want to birth for myself, and this one takes more focus and more intention, and that's what creates this square for me. At the same time that Venus is at 27 degrees Gemini, she is making an exact sextile to Jupiter, who's at 27 degrees Aries in your 7th house. This to me feels like it's a very harmonious aspect that is starting to reveal to Libra that the more you allow yourself your individuality, the more you contribute in a healthy way to your partnerships, the more you contribute to a feeling of value for yourself, and in doing so, inadvertently feeling the value of those around you. I think this is really powerful. Jupiter's been transiting your 7th house for quite some time, and it's about to move into your 8th house. And that's going to be very powerful. It's going to really start to offer you, I think, concrete evidence of your transformation, which is then going to encourage and fuel even more of your transformation. And when I say that, I think it's all the things you've been experiencing as Chiron is transiting your 7th house and exposing places where you may feel, Chiron is the wound, but it's also the healer, the gift. And I think here's where we start to expose the gift that our wounds reveal to us or offer us. On the 7th of May, Venus will move into Cancer. She really enjoys Cancer. That is your 10th house of career. That is your house of public status. It's a house of leadership. It's a house where people notice a change within us. So you can go from being single to married. You can go from being childless to being a parent. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're on the world stage, but the people around us, those that know us, and it's very much connected to our careers. So as Venus moves into this area, you could potentially be an interior designer. You could be somebody who tends to our homeland, protects our homeland. I even want to kind of superimpose the idea of Venus ruling Taurus and then Cancer being the home. You could be in sustainable goods. You could be in all sorts of different things. You could also start a business from home, or you could start to give life to the idea of a business from home, which very much may play to the idea of Pluto moving into your 5th house of self-expression, birthing something on the internet. Then sort of as Pluto retrogrades back into Capricorn, your house of home, you're restructuring how your day is going, who's going to, run the kids to school on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and what the new parameters will be. It doesn't have to be really dramatic and scary. It can be really fun and exciting. We also have Mercury turning direct on May 14th. Now, I did a video on the Mercury retrograde, and while I was meditating before I did the video, I was inspired to go look at the time that Mercury was actually going retrograde. And if I remember, it was like 1:34, 1:35 a.m. Pacific time. That time there was an exact conjunction to the moon at 15 degrees Taurus. I believe that was like setting the tone for this Mercury retrograde, where each person on some level is getting an opportunity to really reevaluate and to assess and to give yourself an opportunity to step back and look at, how am I taking care of myself? How am I trusting my inner knowing? How am I really trusting my intuitiveness? What am I it's all the moon energies and Mercury together. It's like the mind and the emotions came together to start this 3-week process so that we could more powerfully move forward once the retrograde is over. So I think this is something that's super powerful, because 3 days after Mercury turns direct, and it will still sort of be in its shadow period, so it'll be hovering around that 5th degree, we will see Jupiter enter Taurus. This is your 8th house, this house of transformation, the house of other people's money, the house of intimacy and sex, the house that rules astrology and the occult. Aquarius also rules the astrology. They kind of co-rule it. I think that the 8th house has a broader perspective. It also rules the tarot and any sort of alternative ways of viewing this experience that we have here. And as Jupiter enters Taurus, it will be making a square to Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. So here it is Pluto in your 5th house, right? Making this very, at the 0 degree, it's just on the cusp of the 4th and 5th house. So here we're really seeing sort of this push-pull energy of wanting to expand myself and evaluating the obligations and the responsibilities I have within my home sector. We also have Jupiter squaring Mars, as Mars is at the last degrees of Cancer and is about to move into Leo. A few days from this Jupiter moving into Taurus, we're going to start to see a grand fixed square, which is really, really powerful because it's involving the nodes, but I'll get there in just a minute. Cancer is again, your 10th house. So there's a lot of opportunity here for you to start to look at the dynamics of what you would like to create as an individual. And I want to offer it this way, because you can be in a partnership in a creative endeavor, but your individual voice, I think, is super important within that collaboration and your awareness of that, not giving up too much or being overly cooperative and acquiescing to the partnership where your voice gets diminished. I think that's what's really going on here. We have on the 19th, we will have a new moon in Taurus. So this is where we really will start to experience that eclipse, which is so powerful, because eclipses bring in, I believe, what they call fated events are really opportunities to make choices from a deep inner knowing versus a choice from how other people will perceive my choice. And again, having this be in Scorpio, I think, is very powerful, because it's really about how I feel about things and what's important to me and how I want to birth power and control over my own life experience. So this new moon is at 28 degrees Taurus. Taurus, again, is your 8th house. And the 28th degree, it reduces down to a 10. It's also the degree of Cancer. So here I'm seeing this theme that we saw with the Mercury retrograde of my emotional body and my mind coming together to work in unison versus working in opposition to one another. The new moon will make a trine to Pluto in Aquarius. It will make a sextile to Mars at 29 degrees Cancer, and it will make a sextile to Neptune in Pisces. This new moon is extremely beneficial. It is going to offer your 5th house, your 10th house, and your 6th house of work will all light up on this new moon. So the things that Libra has garnished through the Mercury retrograde, through Pluto's energy in your 5th house, through, I feel like I'm almost seeing these little rockets of creative sparks, just and now is the time to kind of collect all these ideas and start to put them in some sort of sequential order, or some sort of put them in some sort of organization so that you can start to birth this idea that I believe you have. And I want to offer it this way, because it doesn't necessarily have to be a money-making endeavor. As this lights up, Pisces is your 6th house, you have an opportunity to be of service by displaying your creativity, regardless of your age or of other, let's say, blocks that you have perceived. The 20th, we're going to experience, and I think this is going to last for quite a bit of time, pretty much through as the grand fixed square comes into conjunction, we're going to start to feel this tension. It involves Mars in Leo and Pluto in Aquarius, and then they are both squaring the nodes. The North Node especially is active because Jupiter is coming up on the North Node, expanding what we want, what we feel ravenous for, what we feel super desirous of. So here what we see is that the North Node has been transiting your 8th house. And now here it is, it's about to transit into your 7th house. It's hovering at the early degrees of Taurus. And I feel like this is very much creating this almost an exasperation for the transformation. And I want to offer that there's a wisdom to the timing of things. And any sort of opposition between Mars and Pluto, I still think is something cooperative. And what it may be is that Pluto is saying to Mars in Leo, are you really coming from your heart, or are you taking action from a different platform? Is it fear? Could it be that you're trying to endeavor something to stave something off in the future versus allowing something to grow? So I think that's where the big challenge comes, because the South Node being involved is a point of egolessness, where we really get to look at our own deep psychological imprint. Again, Pluto being involved in this dynamic. And this could very well have influences over your, Pluto rules your 2nd house, and the 2nd house is where it's where as a child we start to recognize how we're perceived by our family, how we are embraced and valued, and that can be a challenging experience. So we have a lot of energy here that is offering Libra an opportunity to use the old imprint as a platform to move forward versus an anchor to stay where you are. And that's what I think this grand fixed square is creating. Again, a square, no matter what it is, for me as an intuitive astrologer, is an old and repeated, experienced, and historic way of behaving and believing, and a default almost behavior. And then the other half of the square is this new, untried, untested, and I actually have to effort into intention to experience this new part of myself. Now, as I endeavor that new part of myself, it becomes more comfortable and more natural for me. But in the beginning, it's a square. And so now, this idea that we have these 2 points of bravery, Mars being brave, and it could be very much because we're seeing that, Mars rules your 7th house. If you've been harboring any anger, if you have had any resentments in your partnerships because you have not been recognized, now is a time for you to recognize yourself and rise like the phoenix, which is what Pluto is offering you. And I think that this is important because in your axis, this is the 5th and 11th house axis. So that's very important. All right. And then on the and I real quickly want to mention the 24th, the moon will be conjunct Mars and contributing to this grand fixed square. So that could be a very emotional day. If you're mindful and you're aware and you mark it on the calendar, I would surround myself with people that bring ease and harmony to me. It would be a day I would sort of try to avoid people that inflame me or people that dismiss me or throw me off my balance. On the 21st, Mars will officially move into Leo and the Sun will move into Gemini. And on the 31st, Libra, this is another day that I think is going to be rather emotional when the moon meets the South Node. And to me, I kind of think of these as these planets move around certain points. It's like it triggers not just the point it's at, but also all the aspects that planet might have. So as the South Node is met by the moon, it could very much bring up an old story of feeling less than, feeling a sense of loss, feeling not valued. Again, this is in your 2nd house. And this is a place where you can now look and say, am I willing to be the hero in my life and allow myself temporarily to be misunderstood, maybe, or it's kind of an energy, Libra, where I want to say this, that oftentimes with the partnership houses and the partnership signs, I feel as if they're more than willing to give themselves up for the greater good. And I think this is an opportunity to see if giving yourself up is really the greater good, or it's acquiescing to something that's dominant or has been more powerful over you. And if somewhere in your second house, you know, somebody else is paying the bills and you feel obligated to them because financially they take care of you, or somehow you're feeling less than, this is an opportunity for you to step up in your own perception and allow yourself the exploration of your own individual creativity, and then see if that doesn't actually bring more harmony and cooperation into your partnerships and relationships than you had thought it would when you were coming from a more dutiful and obligated energy. And that's what I think may bubble up on the 31st, because here it is, the moon, self-care, intuitive knowing. And the intuitive knowing may be that I get to let something sit on the side, or I let something, what feels like a loss, even if it's it could be temporary. It doesn't necessarily mean it's permanent. And it may actually be something that turns out better than you think it does. So that's what I want to say. So that's it for my Libras. Again, my name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer. I am available for charts if you're interested in that. I also do angel readings and tarot readings. You can reach out to me. My information is below. And I hope you will join me on Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Pacific time, where I do angel readings and tarot readings for the week ahead. We look at the transits, we go by each one of the signs, and then we flip a spread to see what Spirit has to say for you for that week. So I hope you'll join me. Please like, please subscribe, please hit that notification bell, and I'll see you soon. Have a great May. Peace out.